All right, guys, Sean Terry here, and I am super pumped for this interview with the one, the only. I nailed him down for a brief minute or two. I'm going to keep as long as I can. For you guys, Kent Clothier out of La Jolla, California. What is up?
What is happening, my man? Looking forward to seeing you in a few weeks here.
I know. We're going to have some fun. We got a packed house, ton of people flying in from all across the country, and they are stoked to see our crew and you and everything. So we don't want to be too, because obviously you're going to be talking there, speaking on stage, and you're going through some critical information, talking about what a $1 million a month wholesaling operation looks like. And here's the interesting thing is that, I don't do $1 million a month. I wish I did do $1 million a month in my operation, but we'll do $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a month on a super incredible month. But $1 million a month, that's anywhere from 8 to 10 times what I do. And it's interesting because if I go out in the marketplace and looking for other wholesalers that do that type of business, there is no one. You and the Clothier family and Memphis Invest and what you guys have built stands alone as the one company that can produce that amount of business. So it's when I look around trying to find something, like, there is nobody but you and what your family has created. So it's great to have you here, and we're going to talk about those things. And I think the attendees of the Extreme Freedom event are going to be super excited to see you and what you have to say and stuff like that. So if we take back, because everyone wants to know where you like, I guess not really where you came from, but that point of where you decided to get into wholesaling and then starting it. Where were you in your life at that time when you said, okay, I'm going to get into wholesaling? You didn't have a business. You didn't have I don't know what the type of competition. I don't even think you looked at that, but you said, okay, I want to get into this real estate wholesaling business. What was that inflection point for you?
Well, let me back up. First off, I'll tell you that as you know, where we are now is very different from that, right? I mean, it's completely night and day. Yeah. But at that point, when I started, quite frankly, I was broke. I mean, it boiled down to my back was up against the wall. I had just lost a very large business. I've been very successful in the grocery industry, and looked up, and inside of a couple years of walking out of that business, had basically lost everything. Mm-hmm. And was about as close to destitute as anybody could ever want to get to. I mean, it was a bad, really, really bad time for me. Mm-hmm. This was back in December of 2002. And so January 2003, I went to a real estate event. It was the first time I'd ever even heard of wholesaling, didn't know anything about it.
Really?
Very much like the kind of event that you're about to put on, right? I mean, it's for anybody to not believe that these events don't change lives, I mean, I'm living proof of it, right?
Wow.
I'm a product of going to one of these types of events,
right,
sitting there in the audience, hearing somebody talk about wholesaling, which was kind of interesting to me, because in my mind I was like, wait a minute, I just did this in groceries. I think I can do this in real estate. Wow, yeah. I think there were some similarities, right?
Right.
And so I was just desperate enough, got involved, and was just motivated enough, quite frankly, to take what I was learning and go apply it, which is, as you and I both know, is a key differentiator, right? I mean, it's one thing to go and get it; it's a whole other thing to use it. And so I used it, and I went hardcore at it, and became very successful by most measures at it very quickly. Man, I made almost $2 million in my first 18 months doing it. Basically flipped 91 deals, and did very, very well. But to your point, once I got down the road a little bit, I realized that I didn't own a business. I owned a job. Yeah. And it was a job that was paying me a lot of money, but I couldn't. I mean, my wife and I were getting ready to have our first child. I wanted to stop. I wanted to enjoy that moment. I had not really taken the time to smell the roses, if you will, proverbial roses, when my son was born. And so here I was with my second child. I was like, listen, I want to be present for all of this. And I kind of came to this epiphany that, man, if I take off, the money stops. And that's a really unique position to be in. So that's when a big decision, that was my big aha, that I got to turn this into a business.
Right. And I think a lot of people, and the kind of the theme behind the event is take your hobby, your real estate investing hobby. So you're sending out letters, talking to sellers, doing a couple deals here and there, and maybe make, 30, 40, 50,000, whatever, 100,000 in a year, and then turn that hobby into a business, cash producing machine. And that's what you've done, but there are obviously steps involved to be able to make that happen. But, your thinking at that time, you came from a wholesaling a wholesaling grocery business, and then you now turn it into a wholesaling operation. It takes a business intellect to be able to do that. Is it something anybody can do? Because for me, I struggled because I didn't come from a business background. I came from the Marine Corps and high school football. You know what I mean? And so I didn't have a business background, so I had to read books and try to learn this stuff. But for someone now that's watching this and they go, hey, I'm thinking about coming to the event. Can an average person take away some information they can learn from the event about you talking how to do this and be able to go out and build a business? And what does a business look like that?
Well, so your first question, I'll answer. Are you going to learn, everything that you need to learn over a weekend? If I was going to be very candid and very frank about it, I would say that's almost impossible. You and I can cram as much as we want to into this event and give everything we've got. And the reality of it is somebody going to walk out of there know how to go start a $10 million a year business? They're going to have the bones of it, but you never stop learning.
Right. Yeah.
Keep doing and keep educating yourself on what the next steps are. And I can tell you my progression was, again, as you mentioned, I came from a background where I built a very large business with the help of many other people. And so I kind of knew what that looked like. And I had a blueprint in mind, if you will. Mm-hmm. And so probably one of the very first things I did, or I should say probably absolutely one of the very first things I did, is I started surrounding myself with people that were not in real estate, but they were building businesses, mm-hmm. and started listening to what they were saying and following their lead. And I had a mentor that told me that the best thing that I could be doing, my number one job if I wanted to build a business, was to fire myself as often as I could. And I just never have forgotten that, right? That it was always going to be really difficult for me to actually own a business and own my time if I kept putting myself in a situation where the entire business depended on me.
Right.
And so that's, I think, a huge part of building a business is training yourself to get into that mentality. And that just comes with time, and that comes with surrounding yourself with people and using mentors and masterminds and these things that really get you into a place where you start thinking differently.
Yeah.
Because when you start thinking differently, then you'll start taking different actions, and again, it kind of moves down the line. But once I got to that place, your second question, then I started, like I said, it became a game. What are the processes that I was passionate about, mm-hmm. and what are the things that had to happen in the business that I wasn't passionate about? And I just looked at it like this, and I kept measuring myself with one thing. I kept saying, if I left the business and went on vacation for a month, number one, would the business still be here when I got back?
Yep.
And number two, would there be more money in my bank account than when I left? Because if those two weren't going to be true, then I still didn't own a business. I owned a job.
Right.
And so I started putting things in place, so from an acquisition side, what were the processes that I needed to go through, and began documenting all those things. What are to acquire buyers, what are the processes that I had to go through to build a buyer's list, to talk to buyers, the scripts, all those things. And I just began slowly but surely documenting all of those processes. And my goal, again, was to fire myself and all of the stuff that I just wasn't passionate about. I'll be very candid with you. I'm not passionate about going off and dealing with the sellers. I'm not passionate about dealing with the buyers. I've done it, and I've done it for many, many years, but I don't do those things today in my business. What I'm passionate about is the marketing side of it, right? And really creating the prospects and creating the energy and driving the vision of the company and working with at this point in our wholesale operation, my involvement is very, very I mean, it's like this, right? My family
So you built the perfect business. You did it.
Right. I mean,
you completely replaced yourself.
An amazing job, right? My family does an amazing job in running that business.
Yeah.
And I would be lying and remiss if I didn't say it's afforded me a tremendous opportunity. I live, La Jolla, California.
Yeah.
They're running businesses in Memphis and Dallas and Houston and doing an amazing job and to become, like you said, the premier company doing it. But the reality of that is a product of a lot of strategy, a lot of things being put in place to make that happen. Because they'll even tell you to their point, they're not involved, right? We have an army of people now that kind of run these businesses for us. They're operating at a very high level, as am I. But it's it really starts in just little bitty steps, right? I mean, you have to make the decision that you truly want to own a business,
right?
And like you just said this a second ago, there's a different mentality of treating it like a hobby and treating it like a business.
Mm-hmm.
And making that switch is a huge step. When you make that switch, then there are steps, no doubt, that you have to start taking. But steps that are, very deliberate, very intentional, and figuring out what are the processes, what do I like doing, what do I not like doing, but what needs to happen, putting people in those places to do those things. And then I'll tell you this is probably the biggest thing that I can share is empowering people to do their job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. That takes that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
Yeah. It's interesting. Several years back, probably, I don't know, a handful of years back, I was in a mastermind that with Jason Medley and yourself and, those guys standing around the table. And I remember, in this mastermind, you kind of stand up and you kind of tell your story and what your situation is. And I stood up in front of the room, right, and I'm sitting there, and I was run ragged. I was literally completely run ragged. I mean, I had my phones going, my marketing, I was talking to sellers, I was going to appointments, I was managing transactions, I was talking to buyers, and I was working 24/7. I was completely disengaged with my family, and my wife was like pulling her hair out because I was working all the time. And then if I didn't work, I had that guilty feeling of, oh man, yep, I'm not doing something, I got to do something to make money and stuff like that. And I was in this turmoil in this thing. And I remember sitting in this meeting and we're sitting there and they goes, well, why don't you hire somebody? And I think you said it or Jason said it, and they're sitting there, they're like, well, why don't you just hire somebody? And I was like, what do you mean I can hire somebody? And that's how tough I know. I was like, really? Oh, wow. And it's amazing because that was an epiphany to me. I was like, you can hire somebody? I could do that? So, because I didn't know the product. Oh, do I have to have, how do I do it? I didn't know the whole thing. So I'm like, so I hired this lady. Her name's Nancy, and my first hire, and she was, she was like 58 years old, and she was a referral from my father-in-law. But she changed my life because I was like, holy cow, she took a portion of that stuff you're talking about and pushed it off to the table, off the side. She took some of that stuff over. So, when you say that, and I've taken that and going to masterminds that you're part of, and being able to gather that information and look at it and say, okay, where can I replace myself here? Well, imagine if you could replace yourself from talking to sellers. Imagine if you could place yourself talking to buyers. Imagine if you could place yourself in marketing and all these different areas. Then, holy cow, you got a business like this where you now are a visionary of the company, right? And now you have implementers that are moving the moving parts of all these different things, but you got lots of people moving parts, that are producing $1 million a month in revenue, So right. I think, and I think what's interesting about you is that you are the visionary and have that bigger picture. And I think, for people that will attend this event at Extreme Freedom, will sit there and be able to listen to you and be like me, that was like, oh, I can do that? I can build a system and replace myself and be able to generate revenue, and so it's it's cool to be able to.
And what's even more interesting, at least to me, is like when you and I got started in the business, a lot of the systems and the process and the automation that we have both incorporated into our business, none of that stuff existed, right? So. Especially in my business, a lot of the systems that we use in our business have turned around and we pushed out to the industry. Those are products of this exact process. Yeah. Right? Like, look, this is what we have to do to find buyers. This is what we need to do to find sellers. This is what we need to do to find money. And those processes have kind of created other opportunities for us. So, I mean, this is something that, you know, to your point, it's one thing kind of leads to another. You know, there's an easy way to do it, and then there's this hard way to do it. But the point of it is that the systems and the processes and the automation are all kind of the things that create that freedom. Like what you're trying to really demonstrate to people is that
Correct, yeah.
that freedom is what this is all about. If you go create something and back yourself into a corner, you didn't create freedom, you created a job.
Yeah. You know, and for people that's going to go and they're going to attend the event and they're going to be able to sit there and listen to you, the cool thing is to have someone that's already done it. If you have to be the pioneer and figure it out, do you know what I mean? And try to figure out everything that doesn't work. The great thing about you is you've actually done it. You've experienced it. You've built it. You're doing it. You know, so now people can come to the event and they can go, oh, here's how it's done. Here's how it's laid out. Here's how the process is done. And then be able to take that away. And what if they take a fraction, 5%, 10% of your information, or all the information, and then they screw up and they only make $100,000 a month? You know what I mean? What if they blow it? They only comprehend enough, but you know, and they make like me, you know, $150,000 a month, $20,000 a month. Would that change someone's life? So, it's going to be so. Let's give these guys that are listening. What's a good teaser? So let's say they're going to be flying in. There's a bunch of people coming. They're excited to be there. The people that are sitting on the fence right now, they're going, should I go to Extreme Freedom? Should I not? You know, should I go and see Kent and Sean and, you know, all these other great people that's going to be there? What could we tell them that would push them over the fence?
Well, I can assure you that the presentations that I'm going to do will be unlike anything else you've ever seen. And the reason why I say that is because I think my perception of how to build a business that matters is very different than most. And as you know, right, I've been through a lot of stuff in my career. I've done it long enough.
Right.
Got banged around a lot. I've had some pretty traumatic things, experiences in my life that have created some clarity over the last 3 or 4 years, and that basically get me and to a point, have gotten me to a point where I truly understand how to drive a business with vision and purpose and move it with intention every single day, to where it isn't all tactical. It isn't all strategy. Sometimes it's about, you know what, this is what I believe in, and this is how I'm going to move the needle, and this is how I'm going to create impact. And so if you're looking for the extra little oomph to get you over the edge, take it from me. You come in there, we're going to show you a way that to do all this. And you're going to get all the strategy. You're going to get all the processes and all the systems and all the things that people believe they need to know.
Yeah.
You and I both know they're going to walk out of there with that. But I think it would be my hope that with what I share with them, people walk out of there with a little something extra, a little bit of more motivation, inspiration, if you will, on what really matters and how to drive this thing and how to do it with purpose, right? Because that's, as you know, I've worked together for a long time. At the end of the day, that's what really matters. And you lose a couple businesses, you lose a couple battles, you come into some hard times, you get knocked around a few times. That is extremely powerful wisdom and extremely powerful insight that is not easily found in books and tapes and audio cassettes. We're going to share some stuff of real world stuff and some real knocks that have helped to, again, create some real clarity. I think people will find that extremely valuable.
It's the holy grail. Do you know what I mean? I look at it and it's like it's not all about the money. It's not all about the money. It's about building something that produces a revenue that gives you the time to go out and do the things you want to do. And I follow you on Instagram and stuff, and I'm sure other people do and stuff. But you're out walking, you walk your kids to school in the morning, and at the beach you're hanging out and stuff. So there's a balance. So for people, if you're sitting there on the fence, you're going, should I go or should I not go? And look at your life now and look at your situations and look where you're dissatisfied. And it might be you're not engaged with your family, maybe not engaged, maybe you don't have enough money, or maybe you're stressed out. What if you could have the whole package? What if you could have a business to produce amazing amount of revenue and the lifestyle to go out and do whatever you want? Where can you go get that? I don't know any other business where a guy with no money to get started, I don't have a college education, and get up and going and turn around and build a lifestyle business where it's the holy grail. It's putting everything together and then really understanding, once you get the money game out of the way, what are you going to do with your time? And then I see, you see you, and it's like the perfect thing. It's like if you I tell people, if you have a credit card with an unlimited amount of money on it, it could never end, and you can use it all the time. What are you going to do with your time? Now the money game's out of the way. What are you going to do? And a lot of people are sitting around going, I don't know.
Right.
It's called purpose.
No, it's
purpose.
It's exactly moving with intention, right? I mean, understanding what really matters, putting it in perspective, and doing what you got to do. But you're exactly right, man. I mean, where else could an average guy?
Yeah.
We're both average guys, right? No college, and we're out here creating the life of our dreams and doing it in a very real way. Literally doing it through real estate and doing it in a way that matters not only to the people that are following us out there, the people that we're inspiring, but taking the time to actually do it and inspire and create impact in our families too. That I would tell you is, kind of what gets me going. It's the reason I'm excited to come in and share that, because to your point, it's kind of like the Holy Grail. The tactical strategy processes, building $1 million business, man. I mean, that's a process. You can walk somebody through that. That's a skill set. Being able to layer right over the top of that and say, let me show you how to have it all. That's why people want to be there, because that's what they're going to get from this event.
I agree 100%. So guys, you guys listening right now, click the link below. Definitely register the event. We have a limited amount of seats left. Now is the time to register. If you're sitting on the fence, now's the time to get off the fence. It's time to get up and going. And there's two types of people. The people that think that they can figure it out themselves. I was that guy. I was the guy that sat and figured it out. And finally, I was so stressed out. I was doing it wrong. I was chasing the money. I wasn't chasing the purpose. And I went and I gave in and I went to an event, a mastermind that you happened to be there. And I sat there stressed out to my heels, and I'm sitting there and I just had to let it go. And guess what? I got a life-changing moment. So there's someone here, they're listening, you might be on the fence and you're saying, hey, one type of person, you're going to just try to figure it out yourself, and you know what? You might beat your head against the wall for the next 3, 4, 5 years figuring it out. Or the other type of person is a smart person. They're going to go, you know what? I want to learn from people that's already done it, gather as much information, and then apply it and build my own destiny. So so we're gonna impact some people's lives this coming weekend. We're gonna have
a blast
doing it.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and we are going to, and people are gonna leave there with just vibrating with massive amounts of energy to go do it, because guess what? Once you have that purpose, then it gives you, Napoleon Hill talks about in his book Think and Grow Rich, you have to have a burning desire, right? And that creates the persistence, and that creates the focus. Well, guess what? You're not going to have the vibrating, burning desire unless you really, truly understand that you can do it, and it will happen for you, and success is inevitable. So I think having you there, expressing what you can build, the lifestyle you can build, and everything like that, and then the content we're going to be delivering will give that someone to let them know that success is inevitable and they can do it no matter what.
No doubt. I can't tell you, I couldn't be more thrilled and more excited to get in there and, mix it up with people and share some like you said, change some people's lives, right? Make that light bulb go off and somebody realize, oh my God, I have everything I need right here.
Right here, right now. Right? The time is now. Now is the time.
The time is now, baby. Let's on the rest all day long.
Baby. All right, Ken, thank you so much for your time. You rock. I appreciate it, and we'll see you soon.
Take care, brother. See ya.
All right, thanks.